Hello, this is a video to detail the Excel skills that you will need in this section. Excel skills, Excel formulas that will be covered are the minimum, the quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, the maximum, the lower fence, the upper fence, and we'll even calculate a z-score or two. So, and a standard deviation. We'll do this one first. Standard deviation. Well, we'll just call it STD. And then z scores. Okay. Now, the first step 1 is always sort your data. This data represents the percent change in in total mass in tons of wildlife in certain West African countries from 1971 to 1999. So we are dealing with a sample because it's not every African country, it's not every piece of wildlife, but it is a sample. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sort this data. So I'm selecting the column that I want to sort, and I'm going to go up to this button, Sort and Filter. It's in the Home tab. So I'm going to press Sort Smallest to Largest, and I'm going to either I can continue with this current selection, which would only sort the numbers that are highlighted, or I can expand the selection, which will sort the data that I have along with the years. So I'm going to sort that, and I'm going to expand the selection. Now, although in this data set, we know our minimum. In larger data sets, it might be difficult to find. So I'm going to type in equals, which tells Excel I'm ready to do math, and I'm going to type in the formula for minimum, which is min. If you see that it drops down, you can double click, and then it'll give you a hint to select the numbers. So I'm going to select B2 to B30. I'm going to close the parentheses, and clearly it is at negative 22.9. For the first quartile, I'm going to press equals, and I'm going to type in quartile.inc. Now I'm using INC because I'm including the minimum and the maximum. If I wanted to exclude those things, I would use .exc for exclude. So I'm going to select the array. And now I have this button here this saying I need a quartile. What quartile am I looking for? When I put in that comma, it's saying I can do 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1 is the 25th percentile or the first quartile. The third quartile is the 75th percentile, which is, so I'm going to type in 1, I'm going to close the parentheses, and I'm going to have my first quartile, which is negative 7.2. My median, I'm going to type in equals median, parentheses, select my data. For quartile 3, I'm going to type in equals quartile.inc again. I'm going B2 to B30. I can type this in, and then third quartile. And then my maximum, again, if I had a larger data set where I couldn't figure out what my maximum was, I can use this formula, and that gives me a maximum of 3.7. Now, my lower fence, remember, is a formula, which I will write here for you, equals my quartile 1 minus, now I got the lower fence is equal to the quartile 1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range. What's the interquartile range? The interquartile range, IQR, is the difference of Q3 minus Q1. So I have an interquartile range of 6.1. So when I want to calculate the lower fence, I can make Excel do this for me too. I can go equals, I'm going to select quartile 1, I'm going to subtract 1.5 times, and then I'm going to go to my box where I have my interquartile range. So my lower fence is at negative 16.35. If I have any data sets below 16.35, I I have suspected outliers. So I have a suspected outlier of 22.9, which is in the year 1999. So an outlier right now I have at negative 22.9. We're going to use that because that's the only one that's smaller than 16.35. Let's look at the upper fence. The upper fence is calculated by the quartile 3 minus 1.5 times the IQR. So let's do that. Equals quartile 3 plus 1.5 times. And that gives me an upper fence of 8.05. Notice I do not have anything greater than 8.05, so we have no outliers on the upper end. Standard deviation, since this is a sample, is equal to STDEV dot S because it's a sample. And that gives me a standard deviation of 5.4. Now let's check the z-score of this suspected outlier. I want the z-score of 22.9 minus the mean. Oops, we forgot to do the mean. So I will just put the mean here. Whoops. I'll come back to this. I need to calculate the mean, the sample mean. Sample mean, the formula for mean is is average. Because all we're doing is we're taking an average of this thing. So we have an average of negative 4.6. So if I wanted to do a z-score, I'm going to press equals. Now I'm going to do a parentheses for the data value that I'm checking. I'm going to subtract the mean from it, and I'm going to close the parentheses, and then I'm going to divide it by the standard deviation. That gives me a z-score of negative 3.39. I'm rounding, which tells me that this suspected outlier is indeed an outlier, because anything smaller than negative 3 or anything greater than 3 is definitely an outlier when it comes to z-scores. Let me show you how to do the box and whisker plot and see if this will come up. Now I gave you a helpful tool within Play-Doh. And all you need to do is select your data, and we're going to go to Play-Doh. And I need to get to descriptive stats. The draw a box and whisker plot link. And I'm going to paste this. Now this is a sample, so make sure you click sample, and then submit data. And this gives you a box and whisker plot, and it shows the suspected outlier of negative 22.9. I have 29 pieces of data. My median is negative 4.8. Let's compare. Let's compare Microsoft Office. Let's see. So, did I get these things? Did I get a median of negative 4.8? I did. Did I get a minimum of negative 22.9? I did. Did I get a maximum of 3.7? You betcha. My first quartile is negative 7.2 in Excel. But here in the website, it's negative 7.3. Now, the reason is some calculator tools calculate the quartiles differently. Some take the median of the min and the median, and then the median of the median and the maximum to get Q1 and Q3. And that's what's happening here. In Microsoft Excel, what's happening is that they're taking the 25th percentile. This does not matter in larger data sets, but in smaller data sets, you will see variability within within pieces. So the interquartile range here is 6.4. We got an interquartile range of 6.1 because we have different quartiles. And it tells me the outlier is still a negative 22.9. So when you're doing your math, I want you to do it in Excel. You can use this for the picture only.